Hi there. This video is going to explain some information about how to set up an internship or a practicum. It's intended for the undergraduate students at the Lincoln campus for Doane University. My name is Susan Rocker and I'm the Director of Career Development. I also oversee all of the internships and practicums for undergraduate students on the Lincoln campus. What we're going to do in this video is review some of the common questions that students have about setting up their internship site. So first thing up is who's responsible for that, and that is the student. Now I can help with ideas and suggestions. There's going to be information in this video that I think will be helpful for you, but if you need additional assistance or feedback, feel free to contact me anytime. My email address will be available at the end of this slideshow. So, can I do my internship or practicum at my current place of employment is the question that I get sometimes, especially probably from organizational communication students, but also human relations sometimes. And yes, it is possible to do your internship or practicum at your place of employment if it meets some specific criteria. So let's take a look at what those are. These are the three bullets that you see here at the end of this slide. First of all, if you do your internship or practicum with your current employer, the work must be distinctly different than what your current responsibilities are and provide opportunities to learn new things. So it can't be just a continuation of things that you're already doing. It needs to represent that opportunity to learn new things, develop new skills, new knowledge, new abilities. Second of all, the employer needs to be aware of and approve that you are using that work to meet a school requirement, because I'll need to be in touch with them during your time as an intern or practicum student, and so we need them to be on board with things. And finally, whatever responsibilities you are assigned need to relate well to your major. And that isn't just for folks who are doing an internship or practicum with their employer. It's true of all internships and practicums. The majority of the tasks need to relate in some way to your major. Next up is what if I'm looking for a paid internship or practicum? So some are paid, some are unpaid. Some are advertised, some are not advertised. We're gonna take a look at all those different aspects. But first one here is what if you're looking for a paid internship? In these two areas, for human relations and for organizational communication, paid experiences are limited, particularly with human relations. And anytime you start looking at an internship or a practicum that's advertised and paid, it becomes more competitive to get that opportunity. But they're out there, particularly for organizational communication. But if I have any business or accounting students watching this, many of yours will be paid. So here are some places to look for advertised internships. First of all, Job Zone, which is Doane's online job board, has a number of internships on there. Some of them are paid, some of them are not paid. If you just go to doane.edu and in the search box type Job Zone and hit enter, you'll be taken to the page to register, create an account for Job Zone, and then you can go in there and search the opportunities by looking only at internships. If you enter internships in Lincoln, Nebraska, or whatever community you're looking at, you'll see a list of possibilities. A second place that you might look is a website called Intern NE, so it stands for Intern Nebraska, but it's www.internnE. And you're going to see internships there from all around the state. So if you're wanting to stay in Lincoln, be sure and watch for that. Now, on this site, all internships that are advertised are paid. So you'll definitely see paid ones there. But as I said, they're going to be more competitive, harder to get there. There are other options for how to approach getting an internship that sometimes are easier to walk into. So we're going to take a look at that. So How does that work? The majority of students that I work with don't tend to pursue an advertised internship or practicum. Instead, what they're doing is a direct approach with employers that they're interested in working with and asking if they'll set something up for them. So, if you were interested in doing that, the starting point is identifying some organizations you'd like to approach. And I'm just going to kind of quickly run through how that might look on the human relations side versus the org com side. If you're identifying organizations you'd like to work with and you're human relations students, I can tell you that most students tend to look at the nonprofit sector here in Lincoln and complete their internship with one of those nonprofits. If you happen to have a good old-fashioned phone book, there is a nonprofit listing in the blue pages for Lincoln in there. If you want to see that list but you don't have access to a phone book, just email me and ask me for that list of nonprofits and I can email it to you because I have it scanned. If you are someone who plans to change careers after graduation, your best option would be to try to get an internship in your field of interest. So I know sometimes we pick opportunities that fit for our schedule and those kinds of things, but boy, if you're going to change careers, if you can pick something that will give you experience in your area of interest, it will really be an advantage for you. If you're someone who's looking for evenings and weekends for your human relations internship, one little tip is to look for organizations that provide some type of service on the evenings and weekends. So if you're going for, just a straight up organization that only works weekdays, you're going to have a hard time getting the evening and weekend thing going. Now, every once in a while, I have a human relations student who wants to go work in human resources. And if I really like to kind of nudge people over to the business degree with the HR emphasis for that. But if that is what you're up to and you're wanting to work in human resources, you definitely need to get your internship in a human resources office. In addition to that, I personally would just suggest that you make an appointment with me because I've got some other strategies and things that you might want to consider doing to up your chances of getting into that field at graduation. Okay, organizational communication, folks. I see the majority of you getting your practicums with your current employer. But there again, if you're changing careers after graduation, if you can get something relevant to what you're trying to do next, it'll really be an advantage for you. I have had some OrgCom students who have selected an employer and set up a site outside of their current employer. To give you an example of how that worked in one situation, I had a student who was interested in training and development, so he approached People's City Mission and worked with them to identify some training that they wanted to provide to the men who were using the mission's services. And the student developed that training curriculum and provided that training. So that would be just an example of stepping out of your employer to look at doing other things. For both majors and for other majors that aren't listed here, I also do send things out to students about internships when employers send them to me directly. Okay, so let's say you're approaching an employer to see if they would work with you for an internship or practicum. What are you going to say? First, before you make that call, I would suggest that you get online, read their website, learn about what they do, familiarize yourself with who they are, their mission, their goals, what they're up to. Then a phone call is a good starting point. I would call in and ask to speak to someone in the Human Resources Department. Or if you know that they work with interns already, you might ask to speak to whoever oversees the interns or practicum students. And then in terms of what to say, I've got just a little example of here of how that might go that I'd like to share with you. Hi, my name is Susan Rocker, and I'm a junior in the Human Relations program at Doane University here in Lincoln. I need to complete a 40-hour internship as one of my school requirements. I'm really impressed with the services you provide in the community, and I'd love to see if I could visit with you about completing my internship with your organization. And then, of course, you'd modify that to fit your circumstances, your major, whatever. But gives you a bit of an idea of how to start that conversation. Then what's next? Well, from there, they're probably going to have some questions for you. Be prepared to talk about what kind of schedule you're looking at, when are you available, when do you want to start your hours, and be ready to talk about any specific tasks or experiences you'd like to be involved in. It's good to speak up and see if you can advocate to be involved in some of the work that you're especially interested in from looking at your research. But at the same time, being somewhat flexible to meet their needs as well will be an advantage for you. They might ask you to complete some paperwork. In addition, they might want a resume or an application. They might need to run a background check on you. They might ask for references or have you come in for a brief interview. It just kind of depends where they're at, but they'll guide you through those steps if it looks like it's going to work for both of you. Handling possible concerns from the employer. I want to talk about there's a few things that come up occasionally when students are approaching employers to see if they would work with them on setting up an internship or practicum. And I'd like to talk through each of those. The first one is pay. Some employers, when you approach them, assume that you're going to want to be paid for your internship or practicum. And maybe you do, and if that's the case, then I would use some of those sites that we were looking at and that kind of thing. But if you're in a position where you want the experience and it's not as a priority in terms of getting paid, you might want to mention that you don't expect to be paid. This is an interesting topic in the career development field right now about unpaid internships and if that's a good idea or a bad idea. But there you have it. If that's how if you're feeling okay with that, with doing that without pay, and particularly for you in human relations, it's tough to find a paid one. So you may need to clarify that so that they know. Another concern that we sometimes hear from employers is that they don't have a formal internship or practicum program. In fact, we have a number of students who simply are volunteering, that they're, for example, human relations being seen as one of the volunteers at a nonprofit organization. So we create opportunities all the time, and so you can explain to them if that would come up that they don't need to have a formal program in place. A third topic that sometimes comes up is what if they agreed to work with you, what would their obligations be? And we really don't require a whole lot from them other than working with you. I will be in touch with the site supervisor several times throughout your experience, and they'll be asked to sign your time logs, and I'll ask them to fill out an evaluation on your work at the end. But other than that, and working with you, there's not much more that would take up their time there. So, how do you know when you've found the right place? It needs to fit your schedule. It needs to relate well, hopefully, to your career goals, because that will really be an advantage for you. And you need to be able to write 5 or more learning objectives. Talk about things that you're going to learn, okay, knowledge, skills, abilities that you're going to learn or expand, that relate well to your major and represent new learning. So those are the key pieces that I'm looking for in terms of having a place that's a fit for you. Now, what if you talk to somebody and it all sounds good to everybody and they want you to start your hours right away or before the term begins? What I need you to do in that situation is email me with the information that you see in this list. I need your major, the name of your internship or practicum site, a couple sentences describing what you'll be doing there, and what date you want to start your hours. Depending on what you share in that email, one of two things is going to happen. Either I'm just going to go ahead and have you attend the one-time mandatory meeting in the first week of the term, or we'll set up a special meeting one-on-one to go over the information. But I can't say for sure which one it would be until you email me with the information that you see listed above. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out to me. My email address is listed here, susan.rocker@doane.edu.